Pentropic organization. The Pentropic organization was a military organization used by the Australian Army between 1960 and 1965. It was based on the United States Army's pentomic organization and involved reorganizing most of the Army's combat units into units based on 5 elements, rather than the previous 3 or 4 sub-elements. The organization proved unsuccessful, and the Army reverted to its previous unit structures in early 1965. History. The decision to adopt the Pentropic organization was driven by a desire to modernize the Army and ensure that Australian units were able to integrate with those of the United States Army. While the U.S. pentomic organization had been implemented in 1957 to improve the Army's ability to operate during a nuclear war, the Australian organization was optimized for limited wars in Southeast Asia in which there was a chance that nuclear weapons might be used. Both structures were designed to facilitate independent operations by the subunits of divisions. The Australian Pentropic Division was intended to be air-portable, capable of fighting in a limited war and capable of conducting anti-guerrilla operations. The key element of the Pentropic organization was the reorganization of divisions into 5 combined arms battle groups. These battle groups consisted of an infantry battalion, field artillery regiment, engineer field squadron, and other combat and logistic elements including armored, aviation, and armored personnel carrier units as required. These battle groups would be commanded by the commanding officer of their infantry battalion and report directly to the headquarters of the division, as brigade headquarters were abolished as part of the reorganization. When the Pentropic organization was implemented in 1960, the Australian Army was reorganized from 3 divisions, organized on what was called the Tropical Establishment, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd divisions, into 2 Pentropic divisions, the 1st and 3rd. While 2 of the Army's 3 regular infantry battalions were expanded into the new large Pentropic battalions, the 30 Reserve Citizens Military Force CMF battalions were merged into just 9 battalions. This excluded the university regiments and the Papua New Guinea Volunteer Rifles, which remained unchanged. There was a similar effect on the other CMF units, with most being merged into new, larger units. The other regular infantry battalion remained on the previous tropical establishment as it formed part of the 28th Commonwealth Brigade in Malaysia. As part of this reorganization, the Army replaced its outdated weapons with more modern weapons, most of which were supplied from the United States. It was believed that these new weapons would further improve the Army's combat power and the ability of subunits to operate independently. The Pentropic organization was trialed during exercises in 1962 and 1963. These exercises revealed that the battle group's command and control arrangements were unsatisfactory, as battalion headquarters were too small to command such large units in combat situations. While the large Pentropic infantry battalions were found to have some operational advantages over the old tropical establishment battalions, the division's large number of vehicles resulted in traffic jams when operating in tropical conditions. The experience gained from exercises and changes in Australia's strategic environment led to the decision to move away from the Pentropic organization in 1964. During the early 1960s, a number of small counterinsurgency wars broke out in Southeast Asia, and the large Pentropic infantry battalions were ill-suited to these sorts of operations. As the U.S. Army had abandoned its pentomic structure in 1962, and the British Army remained on the tropical establishment, the Australian Army was unable to provide forces which were suited for the forms of warfare it was likely to experience or which were organized along the same lines as units from Australia's main allies. In addition, concentrating the Army's limited manpower into a small number of large battalions was found to be undesirable as it reduced the number of deployable units in the Army. As a result of these factors, the Australian government decided to return the Army to the tropical establishment in November 1964 as part of a wide-ranging package of reforms to the Australian military, which included increasing the size of the Army. The Army returned to the tropical establishment in 1965, and many of the CMF battalions were re-established as independent units. Structure. The main elements of the Pentropic divisions were Divisional Headquarters, Reconnaissance Squadron, Administration Troop, Survey Troop, 5 Reconnaissance Troops, Armored Regiment, 3 Tank Squadrons, Artillery Headquarters, 5 Field Artillery Regiments, Field Engineer Regiment, 5 Field Squadrons, 5 Infantry Battalions, Administration Company, Support Company, 5 Rifle Companies, 4 Rifle Platoons, Weapons Platoon, Light Aviation Company, Signals Regiment, Supply, Transport, Ordnance and Other Services,